week 7 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few wide receivers I would drop this week. The first guy, Gabri of the New York Jets. A lot of high hopes here for the young rookie and one of the best wide receivers coming out of college last season. I had high hopes for, especially the way he started the first 3 weeks of the season with Joe Flacco at quarterback. But ever since Zach Wilson came back from injury in the start of the Jet team's 3-0. But these guys aren't making plays. Elijah Moore is not making plays. I'm going to mention him in a few minutes here. Corey Davis, he's up and down for this team. Conklin's done nothing. So right now, nothing going at wide receiver or tight end for this Jet team here. And these are guys I'm not going to hold on to. Week 4, Pittsburgh for Wilson, 2 catches, 41 yards. Week 5 versus Miami, 3 catches, 27 yards. And then Week 6 at Green Bay, 1 catch, 8 yards. So right now, 3 weeks in a row, he's done nothing. Week 7, a tough matchup on paper at Denver that gives up the second least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. And right here, I know Wilson's a great talent, one of the top receivers coming out of the draft, like I mentioned. But Week 7 here, I'm not going to wait on him. Next season, maybe he'll get going, or towards the middle of the season, end of the year here. But right now, he's a drop guy, and he's been already dropped in 14% of fantasy leagues. The next guy is Robert Woods of the Tennessee Titans. So Robert Woods coming off bye this week here. And he's had a couple decent ball games, but also he's a guy not getting targeted much. He's a touchdown or nothing pretty much for fantasy on his Week 3 versus the Raiders, 4 catches, 85 yards. Week 4 at Indianapolis, 4 catches, 30 yards and a touchdown. And Week 5 at Washington, 4 catches, 37 yards. So right now his ceiling is 13, 14 points at most, but the other ball games, 6, 7 points, he's been scoring here in PPR leagues at Robert Woods. So right now, tough matchup versus Indianapolis. I know Week 4 at Indy had 4 catches, 30 yards and a touchdown, but you take that touchdown away, it's only 7 points, and this Indy team's starting to improve and play a little better now. So right now, Robert Woods, he hasn't had much of an impact, and he's a borderline number 3 flex option. Once again this week, he's not going to be a guy that's going to crack my top 36. And a guy even with bye weeks is tough to play. I know he was great with the Rams. And going back even years before that, I know he was solid with the Buffalo Bills. But right now with Tennessee, I just haven't seen it with Robert Woods. And he's a drop this week. And the third and final guy I would drop a receiver this week's Elijah Moore. Like I mentioned before, the New York Jets. So this Jet team, the receivers aren't doing anything for this roster. Zach Wilson's doing the minimum, and it's been defense and Breece Hall winning ball games right now for this Jet team. I don't know how much longer that's going to last when they get to play a little better teams, even though Green Bay is definitely a solid victory for this team. But Moore still owned in 60% of fantasy leagues, which is surprising to me, even though that number's gone down 12% from last week to this week here. And the last few games, we haven't seen much, like I mentioned. Week 4 at Pittsburgh, 3 catches, 53 yards, 2 rush yards. Week 5 versus Miami, a catch, 11 yards. And then Week 6 at Green Bay, the old goose egg for Elijah Moore. So right now, 3 games in a row, he hasn't had double-digit fantasy points. And he hasn't hit double digits all year, even in PPR leagues. So right now, we'll cut him loose in Week 7. So that's a few wide receivers I look to drop here for Week 7 of the fantasy football season.